All right, hello. Today I'm going to interview Kelly McDonald for my drama interview about belonging in focus. So, hello, Miss Kelly McDonald.
Hello, Madam Sierra.
So the guiding questions that we're going to be talking about today is what do parents ensure? How do parents ensure that their children belong? And what does it mean to be included? I've created sub-questions from these questions so that I can understand these questions as much as possible. So, for the first one, how would you define belonging?
How would I define the belonging? To me, belonging means having a sense of being part of a group, which can be a family, it can be a community, it can be a colleague relationship, but it means that you identify yourself in connection to other people.
Okay. How do you make sure your children belong?
Well, I think you have to start at home with that. So, of course, you give your children a sense of identity in terms of having them feel they belong to your family, and then not just your family, you and their father, but presumably, their larger family if possible. And then even better, to give them a context for where that family comes from and what that family is about, if you have the opportunity to do that. Beyond that, I think you try to identify things that your kids are good at, that they feel that they can participate in and feel good about what they're doing, and that other kids want to do those things with them, so that it gives them a sense of a community, like joining a soccer team or drama or anything like that, whatever they do. And those. So I guess you start with family and then school, and ultimately you encourage them to reach out beyond those things and connect to other people in whatever ways they find themselves capable of doing that.
Okay. So, why is this important? Why is it important that your children belong?
Well, that's an interesting question, because actually I think it's not worth belonging if it means belonging to anything. I mean, I think that the urge to belong is something we feel. It's part of human nature, but the urge to belong is also what gets people to join groups like, the Nazis, and it can actually be used to encourage people to do the wrong kinds of things. So I think you need to teach your children, you need to give your children the opportunity to belong to something positive, but you also need to teach them how to define themselves so that belonging isn't more important than what they're belonging to. So I actually think that it's important to belong so that you don't feel lonely and you're part of a community, but it's important to be able to identify what communities are worth belonging to and which ones are not.
Okay. What challenges do you face in belonging with your family in a foreign country?
Distance is a huge one, although, Skype is great, and there are all sorts of tools we have now that we didn't have when I was a kid living in a foreign country. But also that, I think it can help and it can hinder you in a way. Your family can define itself more tightly by the fact that you're so different from everyone else. But it also means that your extended family isn't quite as available to you, so you really have to make the effort to be included, and you have to have the faith that your family wants you to be included.
All right. How did your parents ensure that you belonged?
Good question. It's interesting because we weren't sort of a church-going family. That's how a lot of parents do it. They take their kids to church so they belong to a religion, and they live in a neighborhood their whole lives so that they belong to that neighborhood and that place. My parents didn't do either one of those things, and yet I felt very much like I belonged. One was because my family had a huge amount of loyalty to each other, and because my brother and I were very close as expat kids. We were at the school. We went to a German school that had no other American kids, so it was us. And we traveled together a lot. We ate together a lot. We talked about politics and religion and ideas a lot, and we always felt like we were included in our parents' lives very much. So I think, like I said, it started at home, and then we found our way into other communities that suited us as we grew.
All right, sort of moving on to the next part of the question, what does it mean to be included? I've also broken that down so you can understand it a little bit more as well. So how would you define being included?
Included is a little different in the sense that belonging is something you feel when you're inside the circle. Being included is when somebody invites you into the circle.
Okay, so why is it important to be included, though?
Because you feel wanted. I mean, you feel like other people see the value in you. I mean, it's true for both belonging and inclusion, but I think of it. I think of it visually that if you belong to a family, it means that you're a natural part of that. That you're part of the organism of that family. So you think of that organism with a circle drawn around the outside of it visually. If you're included in a family, it means that it's an option to include you or exclude you, and that if you've been included, it means that somebody identified you as somebody worth including.
Okay, how can you ensure that you're included, or can you?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're sort of socially aware, you can identify the things in any group that are important to them. That might be, you can ensure that you're included on the soccer team by practicing soccer a lot, so you're good enough that your team wants you to be there. You can ensure that you are included in the, Hitler Youth by espousing all of their ideas. The question, I think the more important thing is to identify which group you want to be included in and not make inclusion the most important thing.
Okay. In your experience, does being included mean something different in different places?
Yes. And also, I guess as I said, it's always a question of whether you want to be included or not. I think any family that lives sort of an expat life is fairly comfortable with being an outsider. So in that way, we all come to terms with not being included somehow as expats. But I think that in different places, of course, it means different things. For example, in Germany, if you are someone's best friend and you're included in their birthday party, you're invited and you shake their hand and say happy birthday. If you are in America and you're included to someone's birthday party, the expectation is you'll bring a nice gift. If you're here and you're included in someone's birthday party, the expectation is often that you'll receive a nice gift. So inclusion is demonstrated in different ways by many different people, but it is always the choice to add someone to the group somehow.
How does being overseas affect whether or not you're included?
Well, you're different. It's less easy to include someone who's different for most people. That's not true for everyone, but for most people, we're outsiders. So to include us, we're either often included because we're maybe a little exotic, or because people feel sorry for us, or because, in your best hope, you're included because people see you manage to share who you truly and genuinely are, and people see that and appreciate it and value that, whether you're, German, Canadian, Indian, Balinese, Javanese, whatever.
All right, well, thank you very much. That is Madame Kelly MacDonald's point of view on an opinion on how do parents ensure that their children belong and what does it mean to be included. Thank you.